Hey guys, welcome to our tutorial where we're going to talk about creating your own color palette. So, why is it important for you to create your own color palette? You may be wondering, and I would love to share that with you. So, let us talk about it. So, one of the things I've noticed that happens to most people when they want to come up with designs is they run into issues on using color. So I'm just gonna paint something. Just paint it. So they run into issues with color and they're always looking for how to mix and match colors. So I'm gonna show you how I do it and how I come up with color palettes for things that I want to work on and what I do. So first thing you need to understand is this is not to replace our tutorials or our courses on color theory. This is just so that you guys can have an understanding of colors and sort of how they work. And this will be perfect for designers. This will be perfect for people that are looking to just understand color. Don't mind me, I just like enjoying myself. So let's just get right into it. So let's look at understanding this. So one of the things you have to understand about color is that if you're trying to come up with your own color palette, then you have to be doing a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to show you a couple of tricks that I use to come up with different color palettes. So I'm going to create 3 color palettes, and then I'm going to show you how I spice them up and how I select from them whenever I need to do designs. So let's say, for example, we're trying to work on colors and understand color schemes, because that's the first thing you need to understand when you're coming up with color palettes. Now, color scheme simply means so think of it like this. There are I think there are about 6 color schemes. There's the tetradic, there's the triadic, there's the analogous, there is complementary. There's just a bunch of them. I'm going to teach you how I come up with them, even when I can't see the color wheel, and then how I come up with them when I can see the color wheel. So first things first is let's just pick our brush. So if I was going to pick a color palette, and let's say I decided to choose a very cool color just to start with, I'm just going to select this. I'm going to create a new layer so we can play a bit. So then I'm going to just paint and have that be one color. Then I'm going to select again. Now, if I was to select the color at the top, that will be complementary. So I would just take that and come up with this. Now that's a very nice looking color, isn't it? So this can be one color palette, and this is just complementary, right? So, but if I wanted to do more complex things, what do I do? If I want to work with more colors, I want to do shades, I want to do tints, what do I do? So one of the first things you can do is you can come here. You can let's just expand this a bit. I'll show you guys how I come up with this thing. So we would just bring this down. Then we're going to say that we should use this tool. Let's just use that tool. And let's imagine that we want to cut that out. So now we have the tool at the top and we have the one at the bottom. So just going to do this again. Yeah, so let's just remove this. Let's duplicate this. And let's delete this. So take our selection tool and we're gonna do some real cool stuff. So gonna go to hue and saturation. Now the reason is hue simply means I'm changing the color of the color. So if I was to do something like this, I'm just okay. So let me show you this so you see, just in case you need to. So here's what's happening as I change through or cycle through these things. It's changing the color, yeah? But it's changing the color of everything. I just wanted to change the color of the layer beneath it directly. So I just click this. So now I have more extensive things to do because I just did that. At the same time, I could add more saturation to it. But the moment I start adding saturation, I basically almost lose the kind of color that I want. If I was to reduce the saturation, then we'll be getting into pastel kind of territory. But I'm going to reduce this back to 0. I'm going to reduce it back to 0. And we're going to call that palette 1. So this can work as our first palette. So we're going to remove this right now. We're going to remove this. Or let's keep this and let's come up with more palettes. So we're going to take this. No, this. Then we're going to take this. We're going to pick this color. Now, here's what I'm trying to do with this. I don't want a situation where I am working with colors I don't necessarily fancy. So I'm going to use some basic rules. So I think the next one I want to do is triadic. All right. So just going to pick this color. I don't want to drop that there. I just want to pick the color. Just going to put them side by side so you can see. I'm going to pick this color. So this is already looking nice. This is a really nice color palette that you could work with. Now, there are other things you would need to do to be able to actually use a color palette, like understanding how to do primary, how to make one color your primary color, then make all the other colors secondary and accent color. And I will touch on it on a different tutorial. But right now, I need you to understand this because this is what will help you when you get to that point. So this is, like I said, triadic. Let's do tetradic. And this is real simple stuff, right? So just going to pick a color and I'm going to paint it here. Going to pick another color. Going to paint it here. Then I'm going to pick another color. Sorry, it didn't really catch the color that I wanted it to. And I'm going to paint it here. Then I'm going to pick this. And I'm going to paint it. Sorry, guys. So it seems that my system's all lagging. So we're going to pick this color. And now we have 4 colors that we can work with, right? So this is how we basically will be able to scroll through and just make different palettes. Now, you can still do the same thing and do a Ctrl J to give it, a little more saturation. Then just take this and let's play around with it. Let's do hue and saturation on it. And let's just do this. Let's do this. Let's change the color a bit, just a bit. So you see now that I have a variety of options. So that means that I can just work around all these colors. So there is another way, and I want to show you guys that way to do this. You're really going to enjoy this, trust me. So this way is for people that don't really understand color theory, or you don't know how to use the color wheel. So stick with me, I'll show you. So let's imagine for a second that this is the color that we want. Let's just turn that on. This is the color we want. This is the color that we want to find colors that match with. So what we're going to do is, now when we open this, we'll see hue, saturation, and brightness. Yeah, so we have a couple of options. We can change the brightness. If you want to get a monochromatic kind of color scheme, we could do changing up the brightness, maybe make the brightness about 97. And then just come in here and paint it. So you see that's monochromatic. Another way you could have done this was to come in to the spot and leave the brightness at, say, maybe 47, because I think that's what it was on before. Let's see. Okay, it wasn't on 47. I think it's 37. I don't know. Let's just check that. It says it's 37. Cool. It seems that I need to get my head in the game. It was 57. I remember correctly now. Good. So now we know exactly where we were. Let's use that as a guide point. So now I have a couple of options. I could change the luminosity of this. I could change it to 88. And watch what kind of cool, funky things I can then add to this. See how beautiful that looks? So let's just remove that. And let us go to, let's just take this back to 28. I want to show you guys a couple of cool things. So now, because of the fact that I want to show you how to manipulate the hue, let me just give you guys a sneak peek. So let's say, for example, we want to manipulate this color. We want to do more contrasty colors to this. We have a couple of options. So let's bring up the color wheel, because that's what I'm going to use to really explain this. And you're going to like it. I promise you, you're going to like it. It's going to help you sort of understand this thing a bit better. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask ourselves questions. So this color looks like it's right here. Yeah. So if I want to do a complementary to this, I could do a total. Let me show you this, because this is going to be real cool. Watch this. So you see this part that says hue is 253. What that's basically saying is that, I want to show you this because it's going to be really cool. If we were to treat this like a circle, let's just look at this together and just treat it like a circle. Let's imagine that this was the circle, because remember in mathematics, yeah, this is 90 right up here. This is 0. This is, hold on, let me reduce my brush. So this is 0. This is 90. This is 180. This is 270. This is also slash, well, let's say, this is also 360 degrees. And if you check this hue, you would see 253 degrees, right? So watch what we're about to do. So if we're trying to, let's look at this. This falls somewhere under here, right? Because it's already moving. And that's why I had to check it first. And then I saw 253. So that means that if I was going to get this yellow, or maybe I wanted to get the yellow, I have to ask myself, from here to here, how many degrees is that? That's about 180, right? So let's see what happens when we do 253 minus 180. Let's just grab our calculator and do that real quick. So 253 minus 180. So let's see what happens when we put 73 here. So it starts to take us towards, see, watch this. Because I really want you guys to see this. If you look at this color and you look at this color, they seem like they're alike, don't they? So what happens is, if this is where I am and I take away 180, if I'm around somewhere here and I take away 180, this is where I should fall, right? So that's the same thing that's sort of happening. So what we could do, let's work on our color palette again. Just go to 73. is to then look at where we are. And remember that the luminosity of the other one was 20 something. So we're going to put, say, 98 or maybe 68. And we're going to come up to somewhere around here. If we were to look at 253 and we take away 90 from 253, we're going to end up somewhere around here. So let's try that. Let's say 253 minus 90. 163. So let's try what that would look like. Oh, okay. So that means we're up here. So you see, if we're to take away, or if we're to add to it, because I want to come to the red angle. So we're going to have maybe say 303. Brings us right here. I don't know if you guys are following this. So if it brings us around there, see, this is 284, right? So maybe 350 will take us towards the red angle right here. So that's why it's always important to understand how the color wheel works, because then you can basically do anything. So just to take away this color wheel, let's see if we can come up with a color palette that we may like. So we are here. Let's see if we can get towards here. So let's just get back to there. So if we take away, say, about 200 from this, where do we end up? So we have this value. So let's just put that there. It's looking real good. And if we take away, say, 180 from this, it will give us another color, and we could just merge that together. And if we, maybe because we want to get more blasty colors, we just pick something like this and we put it here. Now this is already a reasonable color palette, and if I want to just make this a little bit more brighter, I will come to hue and saturation, and I will just saturate the color a bit. Just give it a little more brightness. So already this seems like a reasonable color palette, and I started from only one color. So to recap, you can work with the color wheel, or you can work with this. It's all based on your preference, I guess. So until I come your way again, guys, with another cool tutorial, just explaining how to, create more stuff and work with more stuff. Just want to say, have a lovely day, guys. Bye.